It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop, Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluffs. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Real issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
Another wonderful Thursday afternoon to you, everyone. It is the 13th of June, 2025. The 12th, of June 20. I need to say something about the 13th. It is actually the 12th of June, 2025. And welcome once again to The Real Issues with me, Shelton Daniel, your host and producer, alongside our technical operator, Alton Jaquan Joseph. Terry Fenelon is not in today, and he won't be in tomorrow. So our next time with him will be next week when he decides, and based upon what he has to do, if he is available. I really appreciate you being here with us, and we'll do everything possible to make this program worth your while. It airs weekdays from 12:30 until 2 p.m. on the radio station Real FM that serves you on two frequencies, 91.3 for the north and 91.5 for the south. All right, it looks like one of those days that I particularly like, you know, the days that's kind of in between, mild, not the extreme, blistering, scorching heat. No, the rain coming down, cats and dogs, and you can't move from here to there without getting sprinkled. And it looks like there's a lot of knife edge when it comes to the flu. So a lot of people don't want to get sprinkled because they say in tutus and you've got the flu, you've got your nasal congestion and something of that kind. I don't look forward to having it. The two that I'm most afraid of are the coughing, when it's very intense, and the fever, makes me feel like I'm going off sometimes and I'm almost delirious, and the coughing, almost like my lungs and rib cage is being blown out. These two, I don't like. Not that the nasal congestion or anything else is okay, but the coughing, when it's very, very heavy and intense and continuous, but it's a while I haven't had it. In fact, I was realizing that severe flu is something, looking back over the years, that I get every 9 years. Every 9 years, I maybe get a little thing in between, but the real severe bouts and episodes, I've checked every 9 years. I get it, and when it comes on pretty bad. So my last very severe one would have been when? That would have been in 2019, which is why I said maybe COVID was around and we didn't know yet, because what I felt. So, Jaquan, 19 and 9 would be what? 28? So I'll probably be getting another bad one around 2028. Well, that's still a few years off, isn't it? So if I can spend the next 3 years not having a severe flu, but then again, life didn't promise anything to me. It may be just a coincidence, and maybe it might hit me a little before that. I don't know, what's this thing about bananas and savans? So many people now seem to be pronouncing as if there's a plural to banan and there's a plural to savan. I grew up knowing the place going down Viewfort was Savan. There's another one before that, I think, called Wanye. and then there is savanne, and I just never knew about the savannes. And everybody wants to put a bay in it, as if the whole area is bayfront. Not all of savanne is the bay. There is the bay, yes, of course, but not all the whole area that we describe as savanne is not bayfront. Monty Maxwell, where are you? Give me a call and give me a little bit of support on that one, please. But everybody's into savannes and savanne. Even Minister Musa, a real maestro when it comes to Creole. I remember in an interview we had recently, he was talking and he kept saying about Savanne's Bay. And I'm saying, but to me, savanne is not something you ever pluralize or try to anglicize in that kind of way. So you put, because the S is at the end, you must. But even when speaking Creole, people say savannes, nice savannes. I always knew savanne, and even without particular reference to the place, growing up the savanne, what's it in English? The meadow? I don't think we have savanna here or the grassland or whatever. Quand pour monter ça jouer bœuf ça manger trois savannes ek délovier avant de ça bœuf là les bœuf là chapé. Everybody, we knew it was savanne. There was no even if it is plural, you don't pronounce an S as if to pluralize it. It was savanne. And the same way with banana. I didn't know about the bananas. I knew this area between Fouacho and Tapion, Latok and so on, that they called it the banana area, is now named bananas. And some people again, as a savanne, they feel they must add a bay to it again. Yes, there is a savanne bay, but not all the area is the bay or the bayfront area and so on. I don't know. Maybe okay, the bay is okay, but what's this bananas? We never used to say about, when your pièce banane planté. Si vous passez là, là, ni 4 pièces banane, tous les 4 c'est ça, moi, nous, chaque c'est moun qui a été ici, nous, une pièce banane. So, 4 pièces banane, c'est ça, genre, même famille, something like that, you'd say, Robert Lee, where are you? For people, I'm saying that because we're supposed to be a Creole developed and Creole conscious people. Look at our Journée Creole, what we have done with it, our Creole music and so on, whether it's Denry segment or whatever, where we've placed it in terms of in higher regard and respect and development and so on. The Journée Creole every year, we should not be in this savannes and bananas, Come on, what we're going to do? We're going to go back to the days when we used to say mikud. I'm happy to see the consciousness of people, that it has grown, that we no longer say mikud or grosilet or grosilet. We understand that the T and the D at the end of grosile and miku respectively are silent. So we've grown, we've developed. We don't say grosilet, I'm going to grow. Tout munacha must say grosile. Even the band from Barbados, Mad, I think they call themselves grosile tonight. Was it them who sang that? Grosile, we know it's grosile. What? We're going to go back to saying grosilet or marigot? Now that we've reached the point where people understand that the T in both grosile and marigot is silent, so they don't say grosilet and so on, or marigot, they say marigot and grosile. Why are we into this savannes and these bananas? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but as if when I grew up, I never knew, this kind of thing. Are we going to start saying tapion? Are we going to start saying tapion? Because maybe somebody who doesn't know came to St. Lucia and they said in the Tapion area. So we always start saying it instead of correcting them that the N is silent. It's Tapion. We have been developing in terms of our consciousness, in terms of not being ashamed of our country and its names and what it is. Let's not revert back to that thing. And not everybody who lives at Savannah is Bay. They must be. This is an attempt to give an English flavor and an English touch to it and to believe that we have to try to anglicize everything. Our Creole and Francophone heritage is very much a part of our identity, of our history, of our heritage, of our evolution, of our development. Let's stop playing around with it. Anyway, it's not a big deal, but over time it's just a continual bananas and savannes, and you wonder how long before we see the fall of others, that they will come and that they will fall in just the same way. Anyway, enough said on that. Folks, tomorrow is Friday the 13th. Now, You probably hear me joke a lot on this program about the Gaji and the Chembra and the Zinzin. You can believe me, I do almost all of it for humor, entertainment, laughter, jest, this kind of thing. I don't believe Friday the 13th has any bad luck attached to it any more than Monday, Pentecost Monday, a holy observance and commemoration of the day that Jesus Christ kept his promise and sent the Holy Spirit upon 120 of his disciples who were gathered in one place. That's 10 times the number of regular apostles that he had, and the 120 included his own mother, Mary. And it fell upon them. So I can't be on Monday remembering the account in the Acts of the Apostles, and a very important memory and observance for Christians, and on Friday for me to be sprinkling anything or be afraid that tomorrow I'll have bad luck and this kind of thing. But that's not the point that I really want to make. I want to say that I wonder, is it because a Friday the 13th is approaching that there is this story circulating on social media about a woman who supposedly was doing obia or whatever, and they knock her down, or they undid her, or they dégagé her, so she's dépalaying, and they have recordings. And the thing is, a lot of people seem to believe this thing is real and it's true. I personally see this as fake. I see it as staged. I see it as contrived. I see it as made up for people who just want to, social media has driven people crazy, Too many people want to use social media just to flaunt and showcase themselves and to get attention and to get views and to get likes. It has become the new altar of Baal at which so many of us genuflect, the altar of the likes and the views that we'll do anything for it. It seems like we'll sell our souls for recognition and popularity and numbers and stats on social media. And I looked at that and I just dismissed that as another bout of total foolishness. A woman who's in torment because her soul is going to hell because she did wrong to so many people and she caused the deaths of so many people through occult means. But every sentence of it, another recording supposedly of the same incidents, somebody screaming, screaming is something a lot of people, especially our women, with their greater capacity for high-pitched, vocalization and so on, that they can do very well. Just go where there is a death, where there is a funeral, and there are some people you swear that they are professional paid screamers, they can do it very well. Some of it is genuine. I know a woman who's afraid of lizards. If a lizard or something like that falls on her, well, I'm telling you, you're going to get some screaming. Boys or girls as babies, they can reach a certain pitch with their voices and so on. And then there's somebody who's supposedly, whether an exorcist or who's praying for, I cannot tell at times if the person is telling the person, go on your way to hell, or if they're trying to cast out the demon, but there seem to be some obscenity on a couple of occasions, to the person. Another time is the Holy Spirit that they call in, but it's a fire. The person is afraid that they'll go to hell to the fire, but whoever is praying for them keeps on saying, Ali, continue, Ali, fire, Holy Spirit, fire. And I'm saying, this all sounds so fake to me. But the thing is, so many of us, when these things happen, they seem to have a certain excitement of the drama and the sensationalism about them, that we're prepared to drop everything else we're doing to go and follow that and to have our attention, and we make it a subject of discussion like we believe it, like it's so, even if it's true. Why should I give this thing so much of my attention? If somebody go in and do occult and obia and witchcraft harm to somebody, tell show you pity. I'm not saying leave them alone, don't pray for them, That's not what I'm saying. The witchcraft and occult and the belief in it has been around for as long as almost as long as mankind has been around. That people believe that by saying certain things or whatever. But to drop everything everything and, making it a subject. Don't you believe this is all part of the conspiracy of distraction that we're going to find a lot of it? It's already happening. But more people, it will be done more as we approach elections. We already have platforms where people, once they go on, the Labour Party won the 2021 elections through dark forces. They did that and so on. And they did Obia, and people were in the cemetery at night and this kind of thing. I don't know how you would know people in cemetery at night, 9 o'clock in the night, midnight, if you were not there yourself. Did you blow chair with somebody or bounce up with somebody there? As far as I know, when you have funerals and burials, you're supposed to wrap up things by 6 o'clock or whatever is the recognized sunset time. You're not supposed to be in the cemetery doing anything after 6. Whoever is the cemetery supervisor or overseer or whatever, they would come and tell you, look, you have to expedite and get out of there. They need to wrap up things, just like driving. I don't think the law allows you to have student drivers on the road after sunset, whether it's 6 o'clock or whatever we recognize, and so on. We're not supposed to. I don't know if that has changed. But basically, folks, what's all this thing about? And people are circulating people's picture. Folks, stop that. There is a lady, it seems, is circulating her picture. One, apparently, if it's the same person, that she was much younger, now she is much older, saying that this is the lady who was in the recording, who was screaming. What if none of that is true? What if none of that is true and you have the lady's face all over the place and so on? And then people begin to identify her as the malfaiteur, as the gagé, as the chemboité, as the person who was doing vieillesse pour faire mundito. And you know how it goes in St. Lucia. When you have this kind of incitement going on, it's only a matter of time before somebody sévère brûlé, somebody who's not too bright but who's easily influenced, can see that lady and meet her and lick her down with a stone. Whether it's a plain stone or wash fouye bife or whatever, take and hit her because, begin to say, and maybe fall on her and chop her and do this kind of thing. People, stop that. These allegations of obia and witchcraft and so on, unless a person is found with the evidence of prohibited items, such as they said they found Natoki with some time ago and he was arrested, charged, whatever, taken to court. I think there are some items, putting into the occult books and crystal ball that are prohibited. I don't really know. I think this prohibition should be removed. Not because I support witchcraft or any of that. These things are not empirical. They are not actionable in law. How do you prove that somebody saying some kind of chant, whatever, that it can work on anybody else anymore? And we permit people to practice yoga and transcendental meditation and Rosicrucian thing. And this thing's supposed to have telepathy in them and how you can project energy beams or thoughts from your mind into somebody else's mind and take control of mind. I mean, all of those allegations are being made, yet we permit them, we dabble in it ourselves, we encourage people, we bring in practitioners and masters of silver mind control to hold workshops and seminars and this kind of thing. So I'm just saying, look, these things, they're not empirical. They don't have objectivity that you can prove this. I don't know why we still have prohibitions of them in the law. Maybe there is good reason. I do hope it's not because of the influence of any particular sector, religious organization. We know the Catholic Church is large in membership, in influence, in assets, in power, in presence, and so on. That is not just because it offends a particular church or the other. But left to me alone, I would encourage everybody who would listen to me to stay away from that kind of thing. But when it comes to the point that we believe it so much, that we circulate in people's pictures and identify and say, this is the lady. What could happen if this lady is walking the... And do you know another significant thing? I'm not going to show it. The lady was sent to me in at least one of the pictures. The other one showed her, it seems, a much younger version, wearing a light colored top and a pair of jeans pants. But this other one, she's wearing a bright red dress. A bright red dress. Now, I know red is a color that is open to all kinds of slander and all kinds of... It's supposed to be the red or the scarlet of the whore of Babylon. It's supposed to be the color of choice for the La Diablesse and in Irish law, there's a similar feminine, embodied spirit called the banshee. I think this one is called, and it's supposed to be, our rouge and this sort of thing and so on that you find him with. But it's also the color of the St. Lucia Labour Party. It's the color of many other things, but I'll leave the others for now. It's the color of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And don't you think now there are all sorts of people trying to plant all sorts of ideas in people's mind? Regardez, on va bouger, on Jean les boys, identité, yo ka gager, puis on fait le parti, gagne élection, et que j'ai commencé, et que j'ai tué moun, and before long to whip up some kind of hysteria centered on Obia and Gage and this kind of thing, Remember, before the 2011 elections, if I remember, I was away at the time. There was this accident at Monsignor where, for whatever reason, the vehicle, went over the side of the road and plunged down a place, and more than 15 people, including everybody on that perished, and the things that were said, including by a priest who's known to hate the Labour Party. A priest who is known to have a beef, a rage, a hate, a grudge, an antipathy and animosity against the Labour Party. And I don't hate the priest. He and I have been good. He's been nice to me. But that priest is very, Labour Party, the documentaries and the interviews that were given afterwards, it was always trying to insinuate that the Labour Party had something to do with that accident, that it was part of their witchcraft to win the elections, and it was a mass sacrifice that took place. We know the things that were being floated around about the wife of a former prime minister, that she was a witch, and they were going to have witches conference. How many witches conferences we probably have going on? How many seances and convocations and different things that people probably have, going on? Chance and so on for the passing of what planet and what moon, and the McDonald's almanac and the planting and all the things, the guide to it above ground, and then you look at what's been advertised. How many such things do we have going around all the time? But life goes on. Those of us who don't believe in it, we cast it aside. We don't worry with it. Didn't the Apostle Paul tell us, look, there are people in the world who offer foods and sacrifice foods to idols. But if you go to their home and they ask you, don't ask whether this cake is first communion cake or this if you don't believe in it. You accept it as food, and you pray, whether in your heart or audibly, to God to bless it and guide you, and whatever occult power or idol power or gage power it has in it is of no effect. You eat it as a believer in God, and don't bother with that. Don't ask them, because the moment you ask them and they tell you yes, it's an idol cake or whatever, it's like you right away you have implicated yourself in it. But check the thing, there might be Obia in this room. I may be the biggest one, and Jaquan might not know anything, or Jaquan might be throwing something at me and so on. We don't know. Stop implicating people and sending pictures around. The next thing we cause somebody to get hurt. We cause somebody to get killed. And like I said, as a Labour Party supporter, I am sensitive by my party. I'm sensitive by all St. Lucians. If it was somebody in a yellow dress, I would have felt upset too. And you know me. You know the way I talk about people, whether it's Malika Compton or Stephen Favre, I have people that I hold in some regard, and I don't allow myself to feel any way or to deal in any kind of dirty, nasty way towards them because they support another political party, because I exercise my right to support one. Let us stop doing nothing, especially as we inch towards elections. We can cause incitement against people that can end up in them being harmed. People, no matter how passionate we are about politics, about religion, about whatever it is not worth stirring up things that can result in grievous harm or in the death of another person. Yeah. Okay? Now, what else did I have there to say? We're almost at the point of our commercial break, so I don't want to get into anything that I have to. But Jaquan, can we put up that picture? of Alan Chasney when he was Prime Minister in 2018 touring the Banan area. Not the Banans, the Banan area. The roundabout is not the Banans roundabout, it's the Banan roundabout. Don't even know the boat magic, sir. Banans, savans. Let's give our little respect to our Creole and, commit ourselves to properly articulating it just as we do. When we don't know, we don't know. When it's a mistake, it's a mistake. I make mistakes in this too. This is Alan Chasney in 2018 touring the Banan area with police escort with the then mayor of Castries, Peterson Francis, with the then acting general manager of the Air and Seaports Authority, who I think has since been confirmed and is the substantive confirmed CEO of SLASPA, Mr. Darren Snack. And what was it there for? For redevelopment of the Banan area. They all saw the need from way back. But UWP can only conceptualize things. They can only talk about it. But it looks like only the Labour Party, especially the Labour Party under Philip Joseph Pierre, can actually bring these concepts and these renderings and these plans into reality and implement them. UWP, and especially its leader Alan Chasney, they talk a good game. The fellas who can tell you everything about cricket and how the ball turned away at the last minute and it was an outswinger and this is what the batsman should have done. He should have covered the line and everything. Give them a chance to hold a bat in their hand. Roll the slowest ball, the easiest, pipindu to them, and they don't know what to do with it. They talk a good game. Whatever it is, they're always experts in it. They know everything. They can criticize everybody and so on. Now, cricket is not a good example because that's part of the enjoyment we get in cricket. We always know this person, his hands have butter. He should have held the catch and an easy catch like that. Well, when you're there and in real time, you have to face that ball coming off the edge of the bat going, it went straight to the person, but it went with speed. It was dying on him. There are little things you don't know. That's part of our enjoyment. By power, by concern. But listen to something that was, I think, on the St. Lucia government website. On Wednesday, January 17, 2018, issued by the Office of the Prime Minister entitled Banan Bay Beautification Project. And the subhead is the transformation includes the addition of green spaces, park benches and restaurants. The mayor of the city of Castries has embraced the ambitious development plans by the government of St. Lucia to upgrade the Banan Bay area. Or maybe I should do like them, say the Banans Bay area. The announcement was made by Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Honorable Alan Chasney, during a meeting in Banan on Thursday, January 4th, remember that's 2018 we're talking about, with Mayor Peterson D. Francis, the hierarchy of the RSLPF, and Acting General Manager of the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, SLASPA, Darren Snack, during which they discussed various ways to improve the area. The meeting explored plans to enhance the general image of the Banan Bay area, which is a point of entry to the city of Castries. In the coming weeks, members of the public will witness a gradual transformation of that area through a first phase beautification project. Did that ever happen? Because I notice when you call out UWP for their failure to bring into being, to transform into reality, to really tangibly implement all the articulated plans and so on. It's always COVID. Oh, we had to deal with COVID. We had to deal with COVID. COVID didn't come until 2020. The first cases that they saw in China, people collapsing, by the roadside at bus shelters and so on, I think that came in very late 2019. That's why it's called COVID-19, coronavirus disease of 2019. But everything for UWP, and it didn't hit the Caribbean and affect us until the first quarter of 2020, around March 2020. Everything for them is COVID. COVID is their excuse. COVID is their shield and their shelter, by which they indemnify themselves from all blame and everything for their failure to bring anything almost into light except destructive things, destructive things like the DSH thing and the Lockerbie thing and Ernst & Young having to do our budget, things that involve giving away our money. There was nothing, it wasn't laborious for them to sign things to tell Sandals and Boots Stewart, we don't have any money, forget about that 24 million. These are the kind of things. UWP was very, very good at those kind of things that involve giving away our money go low, to friends, to foreigners, to family, usually almost white people who connected to them, to give direct awards as if direct awards was going out of style. They were not encumbered in those things, Ibaisa, it was, la mayo list, Professor Ibaisa. But anyway, let me continue. The meeting explored plans to enhance the general image of the Bannan Bay area, which is a point of entry to the city of Castries. In the coming weeks, members of the public will witness a gradual transformation of that area through a first phase beautification project. Prime Minister Alan Chasney hopes to encourage commercial activity and develop the entire Bannan Bay Strip with green spaces, park benches and restaurants, along with the relocation of the Marine Police and new police headquarters at the old Golden Hope Hospital site. Speaking to the plans, Prime Minister Chasney stated, quote, "We cannot have a point of entry to the capital city in such conditions. It is an eyesore to members of the public, and what's worse is that the first thing cruise visitors see when vessels come into berth at Port Castries, this certainly cannot and should not reflect what we are as a people. All this will form part of plans to redevelop the city of Castries," end of quote. In embracing the plans, His Worship Mayor Peterson D. Francis said he will work in tandem with other stakeholders to ensure the goals are realized. Quote, "This plan will tie in nicely with the upgrading of the Castries market and the general redevelopment of the city of Castries," close quote, he said. Do you believe Alan Chasney was convinced that he could have undertaken that redevelopment of the Bannan area without any relocation of people, without any shifting of fishermen, any reallocation of the utilization of the space? Do you believe he believed he would have done that? And this is the hypocrisy that everything they themselves had at least intended to embark on, even if they never actually embarked on, or they embarked on very few of them. Anything the Labour Party is doing, either, and UWP is confused, they're schizophrenic, they're bipolar, is either they want to scramble to share the credit or take the credit for having thought of it. They coulda, they woulda, they shoulda. We had plans already in the pipeline, and plans were very advanced. But nothing had been done. Not a clump of sod had been turned. Not a block had been placed. Panama Saxima, to quote this famous, thing by Sean Edward. Nothing at all. Or to come and to try to diss it when they realize the Labour Party is really going to do it. Is always everything wrong about it. Is always it will affect people, it will hurt people, it will do people this and that. Everything to try to poo-poo and downplay and sour the public and communities against projects for their own benefit that they could not have done. This is a destructive United Workers' Party that is anti-development, that does not want to see anything that is done, as we would say in Creole, pour lever nez, Jean Seplissi. They only want the people of St. Lucia in a position of servitude. In a position of servitude to serve the interest of those who they consider to be deserving, to be legitimate, to carry out investments and developments. And your role is to work for them, work in the supermarket, work as cashiers, work as porters and pushing trolley, work in this place and that sort. As Adrian Auger, and I can never forget that many, many, many years ago when he stood up, and I've had respect and admiration for him till this day, against the Compton government's plans to bring in, what was it, Kmart or Walmart to St. Lucia. And Adrian made a point. And he said, whenever we speak about those things and how they will cause economic, commercial, investment displacement of St. Lucians, the first thing that's put in office is the amount of jobs that will be created. We have nothing against jobs, but we don't want a St. Lucia where the only thing we can offer our people is the prospect and dream and of employment. Yes, employment, but we also want ownership. We want to empower our people for ownership. Ownership is true, you know. But the Shasney government is always like St. Lucians are not good enough for their own country and for opportunities to advance and to develop in their own countries. Always to bring in an Ojo Labs and pay them to come and set up shop there and give them money to pay the people that they hire. And T.O.A. King, 1,000 acres of land, whether it's sold or leased or whatever and so on, in a place. Where is the involvement, the conjoining, the dovetailing of St. Lucians into those plans? But now you want to come and to find everything bad with this government's tangible, practical plans for the redevelopment that will involve the relocation of people into better, more hospitable, more salubrious, more respectful surroundings and accommodation and so on for those people. You have to oppose it. But you know, the people, what's that little phrase in the Bible? Taste and see that the Lord is good, or the Lord is fine. The people have tasted what Philip J. Pierre and this government that he leads is doing. They have seen that it's not bluff. They have seen the transformation in their lives. Things like the youth economy, which says, look, show young people that you believe in them, that you give them an opportunity to become entrepreneurs in business, to give them the little hand holding that they need at the start, but at least to whet their appetite and to give them a taste of that venture and to succeed in it, and opportunities that they themselves will have a say in. You see this bluff about everything the government do, and after the break I'm going to come to about that GPH thing. I don't need any papers and so on, but I'm going to talk about it. Because I was in Antigua when that thing came in at its peak. And the opposition there, which is aligned to UWP, they shared almost the same color. They are yellow and blue, you know. They have some blue in it, whatever it is. Everything the government does, they have to come and to try to diss it and to gaslight and to downplay it and to show like it is not good and it is the worst thing. You know why? Because they themselves, the government actually plays the game. It bowls the balls. It plays the strokes, the shots. It scores. It feels well. It holds the catches. It does. This government executes not just a game, but a good game, a great game, a winning game. The most UWP can do is that they can talk a game. And I'm even hesitant to say they can talk a good game, because not even their talk comes even close to being described as good. Real Issues powered by Blue Waters will continue shortly.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell V4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The City opposite the market, Plants Place, Denry Highway. Arlette Supermarket, Soufre. The Release Stress Bar, Labrie Highway. Cool Joint Bar, Victoria Schwazel. Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop, opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The man.
Appreciate you staying with the Real Issues, powered by Blue Waters here on Real FM Radio, NBC Television, and Facebook Live. Now, I've gotten a few messages in between. I'll read them, but I really wanted to make the point about the Global Port Holdings matter. People, Global Port Holdings is, and they're at a very advanced stage, I think completion, in the redevelopment of the cruise ports and facilities in Antigua and in Barbuda. I mean, it's extensive, and you get a lot of things based upon what you negotiate for. I mean, one of it, and that's only a part of it, is that they were going to upgrade and expand the cruise port and the piers and so on, create a how you call that, an over-the-water boardwalk and so on. I mean, it's fantastic to see, you know, that you can move from Heritage Quay and walk right across to the area where I lived and where the last radio station I worked and newspaper was in the Point area where there's the Point Fisheries Wharf, and I mean, beautiful work that they've done. And they also agreed to build amusement park and just like I think we have Island Water Park by Bay Gardens, you know, up north in the Radway area and all of that. A lot of things that they agreed to do, even some things that you cannot say they were directly related to global ports, and afterwards, when the cruise lines that initially opposed them came, I think the cruise lines, what they call them, Caribbean cruise or cruises or whatever, they decided that they were going to get in and contribute some things as a complementarity to the work that Global Port. But they were wary, they were reluctant, they were hesitant, and a lot of them were outright opposed. Because the agreement is that Global Port Holdings will not just do the upgrades and the developments and the land sites so that the shops that they have there will be more attractive to visitors, sell things that are more relevant to them, and are they going to have some kind of further help in developing the linkage between the local agriculture and supplies, so that what you call a provisioning port, that they will do it so that Massey or whatever the commercial interest, when that ship comes in, they have provisioning that they say, okay, why wait till we get back to Miami, whatever, that we can get chicken or eggs or whatever it is from you that we need for the ship, that we can get it there. All these things were part of it. And that's the point. The agreement, as far as I know, and I believe it's likely the same in St. Lucia, is an agreement for them to do the work and also to operate the facilities. The lease is given for 40 years or whatever amount of time, so that Global Port is able to collect the money that they have invested. It's not a case where the government has to say, okay, we want you to build the port and upgrade it, and we will pay you. That will come to 100 million. We will pay it to you, whatever. Global Port has agreed to come and to take, I might say, the risk of operating the port. I won't say manage the port, because the local authorities, and they actually formed a group called Antigua Cruise Port, you know, or Antigua Pier Group and so on, that is like the board of directors overseeing it. That the agreement is that the money that you would have collected from the cruise ships for visiting and the cruise passenger head tax and so on, that we will take up, not all of it, they never agreed for all of it, that if it is $12, let's just say that's just my figure, per cruise passenger, or $10, for every one of them we will take 6 and you will get 4, or we'll take 7 and you'll get 3. And out of that we will be able to recoup the money that we have spent developing and upgrading the port. In other words, Global Port Holdings is undertaking that at its expense. The money that they're collecting and sharing with the local authorities in Antigua, it was Antigua Peer Group they call themselves. I remember a gentleman who was my good friend. We had a great falling out at one time. Mr. Said Green was the last chairman that I can remember. He's the brother of the minister, Mr. Paul Chet Green. He was Foreign Affairs Minister, but I think he took on different portfolios and so on. That Global Port Holdings would take that money, split whatever portion they would give to Antigua, and retain a portion from which they would be able to pay, what's the word, amortize or whatever, the money that they had spent. At the end of the 40 years, the port would be returned or turned over unless the agreement was renegotiated to Antigua. The other upside of it was Global Port Holdings, because it is a multinational company, because it's heavy, it's huge, it's big, it's international. They originate from Turkey, but I think they have their headquarters in the UK, in London. They incorporated in the United Kingdom and so on. So they're not some crazy Muslims who come there and want to, this kind of thing. They are respectable. They have their headquarters in the UK. The guys are operating in the Bahamas. They're operating in Cuba, who are very, very touchy about their national assets and give it away to, multinational capitalists and this kind of thing. But Cuba accepted a deal with Global Port Holdings. The other thing that was seen, and that is why the cruise lines were resisting, that Global Port Holdings would take over negotiating with Antigua and Barbuda on behalf of Antigua and Barbuda. They would negotiate with the cruise lines, so that if they wanted to press for an increase, which the Caribbean countries have always felt that the cruise lines are not paying enough and contributing, you have to put so much money in the development of cruise facilities like Point Seraphine, the berths and the breasting dolphin and all those things, and dredging the harbor to make it deeper so that it can accommodate those huge vessels that they have now, Oasis class ships and so on. And that it is the country with the port that has to be saddled with the burden of repaying that debt. And a lot of them, years, decades passed, and they could barely make a dent in that kind of debt. Antigua and Barbuda, I think, had an outstanding $21 million US, and they were struggling to pay it. That had gone into arrears. And Global Port Holdings came and said, okay, we will take over that debt. We will pay it, we'll clear it off for you. And the cruise passenger tax, we will collect it, and out of it we will pay not just this 21 million, but also the cost of all the concrete and the piling and the dredging and the this and that we had to do. Basically, they would assume all the costs. 40 years. Antigua and Barbuda, and obviously now St. Lucia, felt this is a sweetheart deal. At the end of the day, if the 40 years passes and Global Port Holdings did not make enough money to cover up the expenses and the debt that they paid, that's their business. Maybe they can renegotiate, but that is the deal. The late V.C. Byrd, the first prime minister, we can say people like to use the term father of the nation and so on, but the man who was from the time of George Charles right until his death in 1994, there were a couple of interruptions and so on. Well, one of them, where his party was defeated for one term from 71 to 76 and so on. He always used to say, don't worry about when I bring in hotels and investors and they have this thing. Don't worry them. And before you say anything, they're threatening to pack up and leave. Let them pack up and leave, but the hotel that they build, they can't pack up with it. It's there. Visible used to say that, Let them, all the concrete and steel that you're all worried about, let them pack up and leave, I'll get somebody else to come and to operate that hotel. I'll get somebody else to come and operate that port. So those who want to make us believe about the port being sold and GPH has bought the port, he gave them a lease. And there are conditions to the lease, conditions that St. Lucia should not violate. And Global Port should not violate. And when the 40 years or 30 years pass, let Global Port Holdings pick up the upgrades and the berths and the piers and all the things that they do there. Let them pick it up if they can and go away. Or tell me if it ain't gonna be St. Lucia's own, because it's still in St. Lucia. So this thing about Guy Joseph and others trying to make you believe that the government has just given away, has sold St. Lucia downriver, and the revenue that Port Authority would get, the $10 to tax, they just gave it to Global Port Holdings. And so at least SASPA used to get money, but now they're not going to get anything. What they're not telling you is that whatever money that government is collecting from the cruise ships, whatever portion of it that they give or they agree to give Global Port Holdings, is to pay for what Global Port Holdings is plunging into it, investing in massive and very expensive construction, upgrade, and redevelopment works, so that the government does not have to push its hand in its own pocket, in our own treasury, to pay Global Port Holdings. Global Port Holdings has agreed to take on the upgrade and redevelopment of our port and its operation at their own expense and at their own risk, on a basis of savoir. Now the cruise lines, the Florida-based cruise lines, they are worried because they know that in the past, and the Caribbean countries complained about that, how those cruise lines were resisting any increase in the port charges and the cruise passenger tax, which was meant to give, because y'all can't be using those facilities that we built at Sway, and y'all don't want to contribute anything to it. But what they were doing, they were using divide and rule tactics against those Caribbean territories that have those cruise ports. So always threatening to pull out, So this one afraid that they'll pull out. Okay. Y'all only want to give $2 per head tax. Okay. And they could play those countries who went and work out the separate little deal instead of staying together. They know if Global Port Holdings takes over in terms of operating and managing whatever those ports, whatever you want to call it, that this is a huge multinational company that has weight, that has presence, that has assets. And when they sit down and negotiating with them, that Global Port Holding ain't going to be nothing easy. Ain't going to be no pushover. Ain't going to be no entity that they can divide and rule and intimidate. So they recognize that. So they did not want Global Port Holdings. I know for sure that was in Antigua. That the weight of Global Port Holdings, if Global Port Holdings tell them, look, let us sit down and do a calculation. That cruise passenger head tax should be no more than 15 US or 25 US. And so every time they see another destination where Global Port Holdings is establishing, they get to be in a panic, because they know now that the negotiating weight consolidated in one company that has clout, that has power, that they cannot intimidate and say we're going to pull out. Because the Caribbean is lucrative for them. The Caribbean is a good cash cow for them. And don't ever think that we're more afraid of them pulling out than they're more afraid of losing us. But of course, when you have several small islands, vulnerable, weak, shaky, you can play them, you can intimidate them, you can, cower yourself for them, and they're all ready to run because they don't want to lose, because of that huge loan that they've paid for Point Seraphine and for Redcliffe Key and Heritage Key and Antigua and wherever else in the Bahamas and so on. They're afraid. But if you get one entity representing all of them under the deal that Global Port, they'll be afraid. But this is a total lie. This is not true at all. This foolishness about the government has just given away our revenue to Global Port Holdings. Talk to us about what you did with Ocho Labs now. Talk to us about what you did at Diamond. Talk to us about what you did with Lockerbie. Talk to us about what you did with DSH. Talk to us about what you did with Sandals, the 24 million. Talk to us about what you did with that Mac Maloney guy that you gave 7-point-something million to go and make message, as we say, if a commission to shop for vaccines, when we have such an established and efficient, mechanisms and facilities in place. The OECS pharmaceutical procurement service and COVAX and all these sorts of things that we had. You put in 7-point-something million of our money in a fella's hand. And what is the fella's background? What is his background? You know? I like Chuck the song about things that don't mix. I don't know how Rock had cement and COVID vaccines could mix, you know. Rock had cement. You send a fellow to go and shop for vaccines, and the fellow's background is in Rock had cement. You know? That's why we can't get the vaccines and we can't get our money. I tell you, you know, this craziness. And they want to come and make believe that people are crazy. I have a little video clip that I want to play. It's about 4 minutes. So let's play it now and tell me if that is not a case of defiance. Law-breaking defiance. That basically Guy Joseph is saying that he was right and he was damn right for whatever involvement he had in authorizing or encouraging or sending people to go and paint over a public sports facility in the Tiroche area without any permission approval request from the relevant superintending authority, I think in this case the Ministry of Sports, to paint it in his party colors for a meeting that he was leading there. The famous meeting where Timothy Mangal spoke and talked about Philip J. Pierre, the Prime Minister's blackness and so on. And basically, Guy Joseph is saying, if he had to do it again, he'll do it again. They should be grateful. They should be thankful. Let's hear that for yourself. I know tonight, Richard Frederick going to be on Can I Help You? And I know he was daring Richard, defying him. I'm going to say this and answer me on your program on Thursday. Well, good luck to you on that. Or maybe I'll give Richard a little more grist for his meal here. Go ahead.
Now, my lady a teacher by Monsieur Joachim. Mama Henry, St. Lucia. A corporate citizen came and painted a court. And the electricity had been cut for 3 months. The gentleman went. My understanding, I'm subject to correction because it's not politics. The bill was $1,900 and something. He went and he paid the electricity bill for the court, and he said to the young fellas, use the court, and every month he will send money to pay the electricity bill for the use of the court. That's a good corporate citizen who lives in the United States. He looked at the court, black, the paint, defaced, everything. He gave the young men in the area a job to pressure wash it. He gave them money to go buy Harris paints and buy 15 gallons of paint. And he had them, he took a weed eater, he cut the grass around the court. And then he tell them, paint the court. The parliamentary rep Joachim Henry, for 4 years, never touched the court. Never did anything. He came and he said, oh, why they paint the court in yellow? Now, by la si moi peti wa by jaune, kay we by la jaune. Ikay jaune ko ha. The thing was a faded cream and yellowish color. The school is painted in yellow. The health center is painted around the same color with the court and what used to be a daycare center. So they used the uniform color. You know what the parliamentary rep did? The following day, he hired a set of fellas, bought paint, and had them paint over the paint that the gentleman paid to paint the court. And he painted it in gray. Now I want to tell you, Mr. Henry, send a man $1,900 to him in the US because utsapetiwe kotla. Now ga force movie. All the years they could have done something about the court. You did nothing about it. A man painted it on Sunday, and on Monday morning, you painted over the paint. And mind you, the court is not in Joachim's constituency. The court is in Philip J. Pierre's constituency. So I want to ask Philip J. Pierre, did you send Joachim and do the dirty work on your behalf? You see the wickedness of labor? La no travail qui besoin petit ouais cette ici. Petit ou près petit ouais là ou pas ça petit ouais l'autre bail. Now moi ka do. La na whole wall. Nou ka ba notice decimen ay petit ouais e ben nou ka petit ouais. Ou vle travail pour faire la nuit kay. Nou boulanger moi ça ba lycée kay la Joachim. Ek l'école la besoin siline. Holla l'école la besoin siline, mais sou pas mais nous kay mais. C'est travail ou vle faire comment? For me alone you can paint it in red, the court not voting. The people have already decided where they're voting. So if you think the color of a court is going to save you, you have more coming for you. Now,
Folks, can you believe that kind of arrogance? And you believe that kind of arrogance? This is the arrogance that emanates from somebody who feels entitled because they have enjoyed impunity. And this guy is totally missing the point, that he doesn't understand the point is not about a corporate citizen paying people and purchasing pain. This is a public state-owned, state-run facility. You don't have a right to go and do anything, even if you consider it is a good thing. In this case, the good thing is a convenient good thing, a politically convenient good thing, that you only see it need to be painted, and you painting it when you going to have a political meeting, and you paint it in the colors of your party. You don't go and interfere with public facilities. If you want to donate paint and you want to provide people to paint, you obtain permission from the proper authority to go and do it. You don't go and do it and say it needs to be done, and we saw about it and we went and we did it and we were so good, and you're wicked, and you come, who's wicked? Wicked for what? I gave you the example. Our public roads, technically speaking, they belong to the chief engineer. You don't go on your own and go and decide you pouring cement or you put in BRC or whatever it is on a public road. You have something to contribute and you think something can be done. You approach the ministry and the chief engineer and you say, sir, this road, there is a problem to us. We the people in the area, we prepared to contribute and do something about it. If it is material that's not available or a potholing unit that is too heavily engaged, you don't go and put compressor and break up the road surface and the asphalt with your own backhoe or whatever it is and so on, and to do work on a public road. You believe there was something wrong with the court at Tiroshe, and you and the people who with you and so on feel they want to do something about it. How come it's on the day of your political meeting or the day before, whatever you see, to go and do that? You're supposed to get permission for it. That is the issue. Whoever that St. Lucian businessman, he don't have a right to just go and buy paint and send people to go and paint. And who's that businessman? Mr. Mangal? Yourself? It don't matter who really, you know. You don't mess about with facilities or other people's property just because you have a flight of fancy and you feel that you should do it and you're right to do it. What's going to happen? Anybody can now go onto other people's property or state property and do what seems right in their own eyes. Why do we have government? Why do we have government? You are a biblical man, a preacher and so on. Do you remember the days when it says there were not yet any judges and there was as yet no king, but everyone did what was right in his own eyes? This ain't St. Lucia. St. Lucia have government. St. Lucia have law. And this foolishness about again trying to divert people's attention from what the real issue and the real point is about whether the court is in Castries South East or whether it's in Castries East and Philip J. Pierre, Didi St. Joachim. Philip J. Pierre and Joachim, where you on Sepaloto? Members of cabinet. Isn't Joachim a minister in the cabinet headed by Philip J. Pierre? So if the court is marginally outside the boundaries of Castries South East, and Joachim, as a faithful, loyal, dutiful minister, sees something is going wrong there, and he decides to act upon it, let Philip J. Pierre censure him. Let Philip J. Pierre rebuke him. Let Philip J. Pierre discipline him. But that doesn't change the fact that you had no right to go and tamper with a public facility in any way, whether it is in a paint job, whether it is in renovation, whether it is whatever it is, to go and do that without permission and authorization. This is not a lawless country. There is law, there is authority, and you are not the one to exercise it. You are not a minister, and even if you were a minister, there is a process. Pourquoi vous mettre trop qu'a fait gouverner lido à des pays ça ou de qu'a fait ça là au tien gouvernement ou pas supposé qu'a fait ça actuellement. Real Issues powered by Blue Waters. When we come back, the lines open for your calls and we'll read some of your messages.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.
It is well known that diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, and other illnesses may restrict blood flow, which can lead to impotence and erectile dysfunction. This is why Enhance was formulated to meet these challenging health problems, which can reduce your ability to perform. If you're having problems maintaining your manhood, then reclaim your manhood today with Enhance. Enhance increases your energy level, boosts your stamina, and increases your endurance.
You can get your Enhance at Southwell VA4, Restorer Pharmacy Soufre, Knights Med Miku, Lay by Bar The Morn, Dexter's Place Jeremy Street Castries, Citygate Bar The CDC opposite the market, Plants Place Denry Highway, Arlette Supermarket Soufre, The Release Stress Bar Labrie Highway, Cool Joint Bar Victoria Schwazel, Prios Bus Stop 22, next to the Moshi Bus Stop opposite the Grosile Bus Stop. Prios Bar and Grill in Corinth, Grosile.
Enhance, the best a man can get.
McDowell Supplements, an effective way to ensure you and your loved ones are getting the daily recommended intake of essential vitamins, minerals, and other important nutrients necessary for optimal health. Naturally, we carry an array of health and wellness supplements. McDowell's Immune Booster enhances your body's defense to fight colds and flu, boosts your immune system, prevents viruses and other airborne diseases. McDowell's Colon Cleanser prevents constipation, helps in removing toxins from the colon, detoxifies the body, and regulates your bowel movements. McDowell's Prostate Health prevent the enlargement of the prostate, improve urinary flow, and reduce frequent urination, especially at night. Moringa oleifera capsules are rich in minerals like calcium, potassium, zinc, magnesium, iron, and copper, vitamins like beta-carotene, vitamin A, vitamin B such as folic acid, vitamin C, D, and E. McDowell's Potassium Complex, used for treating and preventing low potassium levels, high blood pressure, preventing stroke, and aid in weight loss. McDowell's Triple Magnesium relaxes the muscles, relieves cramps and helps to control high blood pressure, improves sleep, and can calm the nerves. Magnesium is very important for the normal functioning of cells, nerves, muscles, bones, and the heart. McDowell's Ginger Turmeric helps to relieve pain, decrease nausea and enhance the immune function to help protect against illness and infection. Ginger turmeric has powerful anti-inflammatory properties and improves your circulation. Don't hold health back. Let health strike back. McDowell's, the better way to start your health. Visit Health Service Center, John Compton Highway, call 453-6417. Let your wellness be our stress.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluff. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. Big issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM. The man.
487-9849. 758-487-9849. You can WhatsApp call us on that number, and you can also reach us on the landline 4533-911. We have our first call already. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
Hi, good afternoon to you.
Shelton, if the special prosecutor doesn't want to prosecute Guy Joseph, well, guess what? I will prosecute Guy Joseph. And I'm saying to Guy Joseph right now, you are charged. I'm appearing on behalf of the state, and you are charged for masterminding, defacing government property. Now, the first question I want to put to him, Shelton Daniel, how did you, Guy Joseph, know the exact cost of the paint? You quote figures, you said $1,700. How did you know the exact cost of paint that was used to pay the court? Is the court your personal property? Are you aware, Guy Joseph, that defacing government property is a criminal offense? Guy Joseph, I am putting it to you that if there is any wicked person in this community and this country, is you, because you are the one who mastermind. People see other people painting the court, but you are the one that is calling the shots. So you are allowing people to do your nasty work for you. You are the one that masterminding that. And I'm putting it to you that you are guilty, Guy Joseph, based on your actions of masterminding, defacing government property. And let me tell the people of this country, y'all see who Guy Joseph was. Y'all know who he is. Y'all know the propensity that he has in doing things. Do not forget his utterances. My people of this country, do not forget his utterances. If I can build 10 schools for my wife, ma pay pièson pour faire crime moi. Si ben pour faire crime, na fait crime moi. I had to lie to the Taiwanese, pretending, pretending that I did work, and there was no work at all. My people of this country, my people of Castries Southeast, it will be a very sad day in history if y'all go to the polls and bring back Guy Joseph there. Guy Joseph said to fire him. He said to fire him. He said that he did not finish the hospital to fire him. What is it, in closing, what is it that Guy Joseph have done in these 5 years or in these 4 years in opposition that will convince you all to return him back to office? What is it, what positive changes he have shown in him? He have gone from bad to worse. And returning Guy Joseph in the House of Parliament, that will be a sad day. Stick with the person that you know. Joachim Henry has proven himself to be a very effective minister of social equity. He's not Jesus. Joachim Henry cannot attend to every need. He cannot.
Okay.
But what is within his means, he's doing it.
All right.
So don't bring back Guy Joseph into office. Thank you, Shelton.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. We have another call on the line. Real Issues. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Shelton.
How are you doing?
I am good. How are you?
You're doing great.
I just have to tell you, to remind you that you have a lunchtime program. So at this time, we eat. So you have to be cautious about what you put on our screen, because it can give us indigestion. And one of the is an example this afternoon, because I almost threw up what was inside of me when I saw that video. But Shelton, you brought up the video. I'm not sure if you
as if I'm hearing you rising and then your voice drops. I don't know. Is there something we can do?
I'm getting an echo.
Yeah.
I'm hearing my voice every time I speak, so it's a bit confusing to me.
All right. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes. But Shelton, regarding the relocation of the Banana Bay people, last evening I heard in the news Guy Joseph talking about what they woulda, coulda, shoulda do with the Banana people. Some of which had to do with some laundry that they were going to create and a bus shelter, and then you can take a bus and go down on a tour, and one set of hula baloo hogwash, right? But fundamentally, Shelton, has Guy Joseph ever spoken the truth? Guy Joseph is the person who lacks the most credibility in this country. And I wonder how Cambridge Analytica is still advising the United Workers' Party that Guy Joseph should be their main spokesperson. Because Guy Joseph has never said anything that is true. In fact, the only thing he said that was true is if they did not finish St. Jude, they should not be voted in. And that's exactly what the people listen to.
But you realize what he's trying now? He realized he sucked salt on the St. Jude thing. Now he's trying to go after Dennery Hospital and this place and that place. In other words, trying to make up for his great, as you would say, soof. He's soof on the hospital thing. So now he's trying to regain some kind of credibility by about the St. Jude, about the hospital at Bois Jolie. It's now Saint Jolie and all kind of thing. Anyway, go ahead.
Shelton, you cannot say credibility and Guy Joseph in the same sentence, Shelton.
That's true.
No, you cannot say that. Guy Joseph, the more they keep him in our face, is the more the people of St. Lucia will reject the United Workers' Party. And it also shows that Guy Joseph is not in touch with reality. Just like the period poverty statement that he made, which shows that he doesn't read, he's not abreast with international issues, regional issues, is the same way it shows in this banana issue that he don't even know what happens on a cruise ship. How can he talk about laundry services for cruise ship crew members? Guy Joseph does not know that the cruise ship has all facilities for their crew members. Why would they want to come and bring their dirty clothes to go and wash in Banana? That making sense to you, Shelton?
Yeah, I heard the man talking about how they took a chief forestry officer and they made him Ministry of Agriculture. Isn't forestry part of our agriculture? Agriculture, lands, fisheries, forestries, and how we have forests everywhere on the road and everything. And I listened to him about the cutting of the trees and the grass. I said, okay, I'm surprised he didn't say, that now you cannot even cut the grass that is behind the grass at the side of the, really, really, really.
But they took a bus driver and make him a Minister of Economic Development.
Yeah, the only thing, that Guy Joseph has that he seems to be trying to impress people is his forcefulness. But when you look at the content and the substance of the guy, it's absolutely quite hollow and flatulent and vapid. But
even the tone of his voice, as if it's school children he's talking to, right? So Shelton, we just have to continue to keep focused, dispel every single thing that Guy Joseph says. Guy Joseph say he has a file. She's toujours pas comme ça ouvert file.
You to say everybody. You toujours in your file en lemon.
In your file en lemon. Même file en l'école. Guy Joseph believes that politics is still the era of mépris and mauvais langue.
Yeah, you have file on Richard whatever.
Way above that.
Take it to special prosecutor. Take it to whoever, to DPP.
That's correct. He said you have a file on me. Bring the file to the special prosecutor. I'm still subject to prosecution, even though I am retired from the public service. Because what he does not realize is prosecution means that a crime has been committed. so somebody can be prosecuted.
And you ought
So
not
tell Guy
you
Joseph,
ought
open
not
the
to be
files.
you ought not to be sitting on actionable information that has criminal implications to it.
Precisely, because
as a
we are gonna
responsible
access
person,
to a crime.
you ought to come forward once you have knowledge of even the very planning of a crime. Once you are a witness,
That's right.
you know. Anyway, thank you very much for your
Shelton,
contribution.
Just remember, on afternoons, we eat food. Pas mettez rien pour nous vomir. All right?
All right, okay. Nice show,
Have a good afternoon.
You as well. 487-9849. You can WhatsApp call us, and we have a call on the line already. Hello. Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, hello.
Yeah, go ahead. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, my comrade. I missed you yesterday and I came late this afternoon. I was on some other issue. I came late.
Okay, comrade. Better
But
late
all
than
the
never.
things I'm hearing and all the things that are going on, there are individuals in the United Workers' Party, as I see it, like, for example, Guy Joseph and others and the whole cabal they have there. These people are a disgrace, a political disgrace, I would say, to the efforts of St. Lucia going forward as a society. I think the issue there now is they are trying to get gullible, and I want to put the emphasis on gullible UWPs to make decisions on lies and misinformation. And that's the danger in the thing there, comrade. I'm on the ground all the time. Yesterday I was in Millet with some comrades and thing there in answering Canaries, and all what I'm hearing and seeing, people are making opinions and probably prepared to make decisions on lies and misinformation. And that is a very serious problem as far as going forward for the election that has to come, whatever time it comes there. Tell me something. How can a government like the St. Lucia Labour Party enter into such a development for the ports with so much money and then ignore the impression that the fishers at the waterfront there in Bannan would cause? Now, I'm not against fishers. These people really provide a really important aspect of St. Lucia's economy going forward. But if the government has an arrangement to improve the fishers, with what I'm hearing, is the government really lying? I don't think the government is really lying. And people have to think of that. The government cannot go into such a magnitude kind of, in terms of cost and everything, to improve the ports, which I believe for a very long time, and I travel the road. Every time I come down through the Latok area and look at the thing there, it's always in my mind why something don't happen to that. When that is going to happen now, why people look to confuse the thing, distort the issues to confuse the minds of people. I believe, my brother, the answer to this issue here on the behavior of the elements in the United Workers' Party and the opposition, they have seen and they have realized, and probably their handlers are telling them that the efforts of the government going forward is a threat to they really coming back into office next election. But the issue is there now, the normal people, normal voters, regular people have to realize that and take the actions they need to take when the time comes. And that, to me, is really very important in that, because it's lies, misinformation, and misguidance. Breaking the law, like what you talked about the last time to the guy about the teacher thing there, and all this. But this is what the guys are. They're just posturing. There's a song called "Posturing." It's posturing the posturing, my brother. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we have another call on the line. Hello, Real Issues. Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Yeah, hi.
Shelton, I'll be very quick. I'm curious to know, why is it the pot is in Mr. Pierre's constituency, but Guy is concerned about it?
That's what I'm saying.
And Joachim shouldn't be.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
imagine that Joachim is doing a damn good job to mark out Guy enough to know that this election, Guy will not win. So if he steps inside of Mr. Pierre's constituency, Joachim is golden to take care of Guy, and that's what we do. He can be.
And if that's the case, then Mangal already put his goat mouth on him, because Mangal say everything on the other side of the road from Geno to the Mon, on the right side is Philip JP's constituency. It's printed black. It's ugly, just like Philip JP. But yet you all going and hold some activity there. How you saw that? They already blind themselves.
Do everything on the right, and everything on the left is black and good, and God has blessed Joachim and Mr. Pierre with fixing and righting the wrongs. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you very much. All right, Jaquana told me that this was going to be our final call. Is that another one? Do you think we can have time squeeze it in, or it's already? All right, let's make this our last call. Hi, good afternoon. Real Issues.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I will be very short. Today I heard Stephen on Reverb say that he never heard about what Mangal said about being black like Philip Pierre. He also spoke about the people at Banners. I just need a clarification. When the UWP was in power and they had the thing at Lackley where they paid off the people, why didn't Stephen say anything about that? He did not hear either.
I don't know. Stephen may have been out of St. Lucia at the time in Geneva or something.
He said that he has been abreast with everything that has been happening. Yeah. So were the other people that complaining now that they're moving the Banners people, were they not alarmed about the people from Laclary either?
Yeah, well,
they conveniently forgot the people in Laclary when they were paid to leave. Indeed. Without a plan for them, and up now the place is still empty.
Indeed.
But Banners have a plan that will go on for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm also told that on the Reverb that Stephen said he never heard what Mangal said, about the black.
No, he said so. He said he never heard it.
So he doesn't. He's clueless about Bannon. He never heard about the black like Philip Pierre. Maybe Stephen has now become fully blooded into the UWP politics. It was only a matter of time.
Thank you very much for taking my call.
All right, thank you very much. And folks, that's where we'll leave it for the real issues for today. Let me just say very quickly that there is something that happened. Apparently, a man appears to have been murdered. A man from Larish was murdered and his body found at Black Bay. I have to tell you, I was shocked when I heard the report, because all how I heard the name of the guy, it sounded like Darby Etienne. The first thing I'm hearing, Darby Etienne, who we know was a Calypso producer and that sort of thing. My good friend of a very, very long time and so on. But it was only later I realized that I had heard the name wrong. I said, my goodness, I thought Darby was living in England. How did Darby get involved in that kind of thing? But later it turned out. We have to go now, folks. Thanks very much. Signing out from the
2 7 16 18. Big 4 5 4 0 8. Big for multi-X 2X. Pick 2 7 6. Pick 2 multi-X 2X. 1 off 5 4 2. Lucky 3 5 6 0. Lucky 3 multi-X 2X.
The voice. Your hero is back. Raw facts, no fluffs. Shelton Daniel is here to deal with the issues. 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. Monday to Friday on Real FM.